Hi, my name is Erin Ruggieri. I'm one of the marketing coordinators at BCIT, and welcome to the Occupational Health and Safety Information Session for our part-time studies Occupational Health and Safety programs. Today, our presenter is going to be David Wood. He's the program head for OHS, and he just did a little wave if you see him. But before we get started, I'm going to start with some housekeeping things. So first off, if you could please leave yourself on mute while we're presenting, just so we don't have too much background noise. And feel free to leave your camera on so that we're not just talking to the black screen. But I know that some people have other things going on at the same time. So if that's what you have to do, that's what you have to do. But again, we do like to see some faces if we can. We will be answering questions towards the end of the session. So at that time, you can type them into the chat. And Darren will say a quick hello in the chat so you know where that pops up, as he looks for it himself too. So that's where you will type questions that we will answer in the Q&A portion at the end. So you can hold off for that section. Before we go any further, I'd also like to say that the British Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam. Now, our agenda for this evening will be our welcome and introductions, which is what I'm doing right now. We'll talk about the part-time studies OHS program options, who the program is for, how will you learn, what will you learn, where would you work, how you can progress in your career, and then, like I mentioned, we will end off with a Q&A where you can get all of your questions answered about OHS and the Occupational Health and Safety program. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to David. David, say hi, and did you want to start our poll right off the bat?
Sure, you can. Did you post that or just ask it?
I will post it up and it will should be here on everyone's screen right now. So our poll question tonight to get us started off is, which of the following is something that a safety practitioner should not be doing?
Well, some people got it right. What a safety practitioner should not be doing basically, and sometimes you have to do it, and some workplaces, some employers make you do it, but it is enforcing safety requirements. Definitely not a good useful use of safety practitioners' time for many reasons, and we spend at least one whole 2-hour lesson talking about this in the program, so you would learn in great detail what you should be doing if you come across a worker and she is not following procedures or wearing PPE or doing something else. Safety professionals do investigate accidents and worker complaints. Other people also do that. Training workers, quite often a safety professional is involved. Sometimes they are not, but quite often they are involved in training workers. Workplace inspections, obviously a safety professional is doing that every day. So it is enforcing safety requirements that they should not be doing, and there are many reasons for that. So I'm not going to go into great details now. Take the program and you will find out the answers. Great. So I guess first question is, and I'm not going to talk too much about anything. This is going to be a fairly short session. I'm going to leave lots of time for questions. So the question is, what is occupational health and safety? Hopefully you're in this session because you already know or have a really good idea of what you're getting into as a career choice. But occupational health and safety is basically implementing controls in the workplace to control hazards. So a safety professional often works with many, many other people and groups of people to identify, evaluate, and control hazards in the workplace. Essentially, they manage the risk to workers and to the employer. So that might also involve the public and or the environment, depending on the job and the industry and the employer. Okay, next slide. So this is the program I'm going to spend most of the time talking about today. It's a new associate certificate program we're offering starting in the fall term. Associate Certificate in Foundations in Occupational Health and Safety. There are 7 courses in this program, 20 credits. So they provide these courses, this program provides the education required to start, for you to start work in an entry-level safety position. So it gives you the knowledge and the skills you need to get started in the job. Associate Certificate meets the educational requirements required by the Canadian Registered Safety Technician certification. So there is a certification at the end that you might want to go for. And this certification will also ladder into our new Associate Certificate program, which we'll be starting that program probably in January, or if not, definitely in April. So the 2 programs, the Foundations Associate Certificate and the new certificate program, will ladder into each other, and you will end up meeting the requirements for the Canadian Registered Safety Professional certification. So it gives you the education needed for that. You also need 4 years work experience. So if you're working in safety already or get a job after the Associate Certificate in Foundations, you can start getting that 4 years experience to become a CRSP. Okay, I'll talk a little bit about our current certificate program. Our current program, you've probably seen it on the website, 15 courses or 45 credits, provides the education required, again, to start work in an entry-level safety position, technician role. It meets the educational requirements for the Canadian Registered Safety Technician certification, which is the same that the new Associate Certificate will meet. And we are adding a second Associate Certificate. So people who graduate from this certificate can get a bit more training, so they will qualify for the CRSP in the future. Is occupational health and safety the right fit for you? So what we are looking for for our students is at least 3 to 5 years of work experience. It doesn't have to be in safety, it can be in anything. In our certificate program, we have students with 15, 20 years experience, sometimes in trades or high hazard industries. We also have people with experience in, say, retail or restaurants or other things. It's all valuable experience, but there is a very wide range. But having some experience before you go into occupational health and safety is critical. A lot of people can take and pass this program, say people out of high school. You could take this program and pass it, get your certificate. The problem is getting a job, because an employer is going to be looking at the person and their background and what they know. And if you have never actually worked in the workplace, you're not going to be offering the employer a lot. So you're less likely to get a decent job in safety, or that first job that you really need to get going. So work experience is very, very critical for people who want to get into occupational health and safety, whether that's our associate certificate, our certificate, or even the diploma program. They all need work experience. Other prerequisites for people getting into English language proficiency, reading, writing, speaking, and listening, obviously critical, because the whole job of safety is communicating with people, and you need to communicate both written and orally, doing lots of presentations, talking to people from the CEO, managers, supervisors, workers down on the floor. You have to be able to talk to them all at their own level in an appropriate way. So communication is highly critical, very, very important skill. So going back to the experience, your success as a student and a graduate in safety will greatly depend on the abilities and skills you bring with you into the program. The program is not enough to teach you everything about everything, but if you have work experience, that helps you to know the job hazards, understand the workplace culture, and being able to relate to other workers are all critical skills that an employer will look for. Again, going backwards a little bit, if someone out of high school takes this program and then an employer hires them and plunks them into a workplace, it's going to be not pretty. You need a lot of skills to be able to talk to workers who have been doing the job for 10 or 20 years and trying to explain why they should be following these safety requirements. Okay, a little bit about our program. It's a typical part-time studies program at BCIT. Our courses are taught online. Courses at BCIT, if you've ever taken any BCIT courses, you know that they are very intensive. There's a lot of work. The BCIT is famous for working you to death. So they're not going to be quick and easy online courses you can take. You should expect to spend at least 6 to 10 hours on every course you take every week. And it's a 12-week term. So you're going to spend 60 to 120 hours to get through each course. We have a term-based system, so we have 3 terms per year, and you take courses within the term, 12-week terms. Our courses all have an instructor or a tutor who are there to help you with the course. So anytime you have any questions or you want to chat about anything, there will be a tutor there for you to talk to. Our courses are structured. They usually have a midterm and a final exam. They also usually have 2 assignments, and those are due in about halfway through the course and towards the end, so week 6 and week 12. Exams and assignments are going to be done online. You never have to come to BCIT to do anything, except we do have 1 lab course that's an elective that sometimes people come here for a week and do a lab course. Most courses have some sort of discussion, so you can chat with some of the other students and share some ideas. And I guess another critical thing about our courses is the assignments are fairly practical and hands-on. We don't want you to sign up for a course and sit in your bedroom and do everything. We force students to go out. Sometimes they have to go into industry or into a workplace and do something to complete an assignment. So you have to be prepared. So hopefully, this is a good thing. If you're working and doing this part-time, you can use your own workplace for a lot of the assignments, which is really helpful. If you don't have a workplace, then you have to start approaching your friends or other people to get access to their workplaces. But at the end of the day, this is a very hands-on practical program. When you want to go out, when you want to graduate and go out and work in the real world, you want to feel comfortable and confident in your skills. So it's not all theoretical, it's very practical. Okay, what are some of the things you would learn in the program? Again, hopefully none of this is going to surprise you. Legal requirements for occupational health and safety in your jurisdiction. This is not strictly only BC. Students across Canada can take this program, and we have had many, many students from other parts of Canada in the past do the program. So you will be using the legal requirements in your province or federally regulated areas for the assignments. Things like accident investigation theories and methods will be covered. Hazard recognition and evaluation. Hazard controls, how they're implemented in the workplace. We're going to cover safety program development and the management of a safety program. It's very important. Lots and lots of talk about safety culture in the workplace, how to develop and how to maintain a strong safety culture. As you know, you probably are aware that there are lots of rules in workplaces. There's lots of PPE, there are lots of procedures, there are lots of requirements. But the challenge and what makes it interesting as a safety professional is we don't just tell people the rules. You have to actually try to convince them that those are good rules and you should follow them, and that way you have a good, compliant workplace. So that's what the real challenge in occupational health and safety, and what you're going to learn is how to convince people, and sometimes you have to convince the employer as well as the workers and the supervisors and the managers. You have to get them all to buy in and have a strong safety culture, and that way safety will work in the workplace. Having 1,000 procedures and rules is not really going to make it a safe workplace if nobody is following them, or if they only follow them when they feel like it, or when they're not busy or not stressed. No, they have to follow them all times. So we spend a fair bit of time talking about developing and maintaining a strong safety culture. Safety management process, the whole process is something that is also very critical. Safety is all about managing hazards and risks. So you have to identify them and manage them, minimize them as best we can. Usually you can't get rid of all the risk in the workplace, but we will talk about managing them. Also courses on identifying, managing all kinds of hazardous materials, whether those are chemical, biological, whatever. We spend a lot of time talking about education and training, communication, supervision. All those things are critical to manage safety in the workplace. And we also get into health and occupational hygiene areas of occupational health and safety. So you can see it's a pretty well-rounded program. You're going to learn a ton of stuff. It's not simple, it's not easy, but on the other side, most safety people never say their jobs are boring. There is always something to do, something to learn. Every day is different and interesting and challenging. And if you do a good job and you send people home safe at the end of the day, it's a very rewarding career. Next slide. Okay, where are you going to work? That's another question lots of people have. Where do you work after you graduate? So a lot of grads start work with their current employer or in their current industry. That way you can use the knowledge and the skills you have of the workplace, of the hazards in the workplace, of the culture of the workplace. You can use all that knowledge, and that really gives you a head start when it comes to working in safety. Lots of people are kind of moving into a safety position with their current employer already. You might be on the safety committee, you might be involved in safety in some way, and you want to expand that, or there are opportunities with the current employer. So this program is great for that. You have to start somewhere. That's the best place to start, somewhere you know. So as following up with that, the grads start with their current employer industry because they do have the knowledge of the people, the culture, the hazards. But you can work anywhere in safety because all industries require safety. Every workplace in BC, all 300,000 of them are required to follow WorkSafe Occupational Health and Safety regulation and the Workers' Compensation Act, as well as a whole bunch of other legal requirements. So every industry needs safety people. The more hazardous the industry, the larger the employer, the more safety people they're going to be hiring. Both private and public employers need safety people. Government of BC, WorkSafe BC, municipalities, cities all have big safety departments that hire people. Very interesting places to work. It's also a lot of private industry too. Things like healthcare, construction, forestry, mining, tourism, manufacturing, transportation, and there's another 7 or 8 industries I did not list there that you know, they all require safety people at some level. What sort of job? Yep, trades. A lot of our graduates or our students come from the trades, and that's a great place to start because you have a lot of knowledge if you're coming from a trade and you want to transfer your knowledge into safety. Job titles: occupational health safety coordinator, officer, assistant, manager. There's a lot of job titles. There's really no one standard job title. There is no one standard job in safety. There are so many different things you could do. No two jobs are really the same. Salaries do vary quite a bit, but probably starting 45, 50,000 or better is realistic. So the career progression, you want to graduate and start your career, you're usually starting in sort of an entry level, lower level safety job. So you're a safety practitioner or a safety technician. Remember, we talked about the Canadian Registered Safety Technician designation that you can get from the BCRSP jobs. It's good to start, you know, early in your career. Good to start in a large department, you know, safety department where there are several safety professionals. That way you can get a lot of mentoring and help learning your way around. Sometimes people get a job and they are the whole safety department, like on the first day. That's a little stressful and it's a big learning curve, but you know, people do survive it. So personally, I would like to start in a bigger company with several safety people, and then you can learn a little more slowly. So career progression, again, 1 year work experience after the Fundamentals Associate Certificate, and you can qualify to apply for the Canadian Registered Safety Technician designation. So something nice to get to put behind your name. If you want to further progress your career, you can continue to study at BCIT and ladder into, we're going to have a new certificate program soon. So you can ladder into that, and that will give you a lot more education and training. And it will also qualify you for the Canadian Registered Safety Professional designation, which requires 4 years of work experience. So it's good to, I would say, get the associate certificate in foundations, work for a few years, start taking some courses to get the credits you need to move into the Canadian Registered Safety Professional certificate level, which is about as high as you're going to get in Canada. With continued work experience and continued studies, you're going to start from your basic first job and either move into other jobs, other industries, or progress with your own employer and move up the ladder until you become the safety professional at a manager level. And at that point, if you do eventually get your CRSP, almost all those people are making at least 100,000 a year. So it takes a few years to get there, and it depends on your commitment and your skills in a lot of it, communication, and you can get to somewhere that pays really well and is a really rewarding career because you can do a lot of good. The higher you move up in safety, the more good you can do for everybody who works at the workplace, the more good things you can do for the employer. So yeah, it's you do the first program and you can spend several years advancing your career. This is a profession where you never stop learning. You're going to be taking courses every year. You're going to be going to conferences. There's lots of provincial and national conferences you get to go to every year to, as I say, continue your education, continue learning. Sky's really the limit. Registration, there is no application process for getting into the part-time studies programs at BCIT in occupational health and safety anyway. You just register for your first course and you have started the program. You should make sure that you meet the prerequisites, you know, as far as reading, writing, communication, those things, that you're okay, comfortable working on a computer, because all the courses are going to be done on the computer. So our 3 terms a year start in January, April, and September. So the next term starts September 6th or 7th, I guess. You can register anytime between now and the day before the term starts and start the course on that date. Again, there's a bit more information there. I'm not going to go over it too much. I always tell people if they're just new to BCIT and registering, I would just phone and get the registration people to put all your information in there and to make sure everything is right, to create your student number. But some people like to go online and do it all themselves. Either way will work. So the courses, most of the courses are completely online. Some of them have textbooks or other course materials too, but the first ones you would be taking are completely online. So you would get access on the morning of the first day of the term, and it goes for 12 weeks.
Now we're at our question and answer slide. So thank you, Dave. That was a lot of information. So I know a lot of you have questions because I already see them popping up in the chat. And Nikki has just put links to our part-time programs and our, actually that first link is to all of our occupational health and safety at BCIT diploma and part-time. So that's a good way to just start out there, and you can link to all of our programs from there. So copy those down. So I think one question that Nikki was going to bring up too, and I know we've had 2 people ask about this. Is there any, Dave, is there any mental health or mental well-being in the workplace taught in this?
It is taught in a few courses. Occupational health and safety is a huge topic, and it covers so much. And mental health is something that's one of the newer areas of concern in safety. So it's getting more and more all the time. So we do talk about it and teach about it. I think as we update our curriculum over time, we will probably be adding more in that area. But it's definitely something as a safety professional you would be involved in and concerned with.
Okay, and we have a question, Dave, how many courses would you recommend a student take per term?
Really depends on the student. If you're working full-time and doing this program, then 1 course or 2 courses is plenty. As I said, expect to spend 6 to 10 hours per week on each course. So you're looking at 12 to 20 hours with 2 courses. Part of that also depends on the student, as some of our students have university degrees and they've done online stuff before, so they can expect to be on the low end of that 6 to 10 hours. But a lot of our students are people that have been out working in industry and graduated maybe from high school 20 years ago and haven't done any courses in the last 15 or 20 years, and they should expect to spend towards 10 hours a week per course. So for them, I would say take less courses. So if you're working 1 or 2 courses, if you're not working and you want to get through this, you could probably do 3 or 4, like maximum. Don't think BCIT is easy. It ain't. we work you to death. So there's lots of material to cover in our diploma program. Students are in class 30 hours a week for 2 years. Plus they probably get another 20 or 30 hours of homework on top of that. So you can see that there is a lot to cover in occupational health and safety. So expect to work.
So Dave, when you say 1 to 2 courses, how long are people allowed to take to complete the program?
The a new associate certificate in foundations, you have 3 years, so that's 9 terms, and there are 7 courses. So if you take 1 course per term, you would be just over 2 years to complete. But it's totally, you know, as long as you complete it under the maximum, it's pretty flexible. You can take a term off if you want to go on vacation, if we have those. Or if you're working a lot in the winter and you can't take courses, then you could take 2 courses or 3 courses in another term. So it's fairly flexible as long as you finish in 3 years or 9 terms or less.
Okay. I'm actually going to just, I have a question from Brian here, and I think I can answer this one. I think actually a few of us probably can. Brian says, I was looking at this and the food tech program. I already have a background in culinary baking. Which would you think is better if I am trying to become a health inspector? So Brian, between this and food tech, for you, I would recommend this. Some students do take food tech and then ladder into environmental health afterwards and take that program. And I think Jennifer, our associate dean, is on here as well, and she'll definitely have something to add about this.
I was just going to say the environmental health is the public health inspector program, but as Aaron said, there's folks who do take the food tech and then ladder into environmental health. So I'll put the link to the environmental health program so you can have a look at that as well.
Yeah, but OHS would definitely kind of get you there faster. It's a different role than the public health inspector in environmental health, but food tech might be, it's more about processing and food processing and the food processing production line. So I sounds more like you'd be leaning towards this one, Brian, but definitely check them all out on our website. Somebody's asking, would instructors be able to help with things like suggestions on who to interview if you have to interview 2 people for a course? I'm assuming yes, the instructors, the tutors would definitely be there to give you some suggestions, ideas of who to talk to, where to look for things like that. Is that right, Dave?
Yeah, they can help a little bit, but you should be prepared to do a lot of networking. Use all of your friends and acquaintances. Hopefully they all work somewhere, and those places have safety departments or safety professionals, you know, so a lot of networking is involved in occupational health and safety. Even when you graduate, you're going to be networking with other graduates or safety professionals, because you are not going to have the answer to everything, but hopefully one of your friends or someone you know in the program or another graduate can help you. So networking is going to be a huge thing. And there's also organizations like Canadian Society of Safety Engineering that you can contact, and hopefully they could hook you up with some safety professionals that might be willing to be interviewed. I know that's a big challenge, and a lot of people aren't comfortable getting out there, but you're kind of being forced to. If you're going to work in safety, we're going to make you talk to people, and we're going to make you do presentations, and we're going to make you, so when you graduate, you can get out there and be comfortable and competent and confident in your skills. So
thank you. That's a really good answer. Something we kind of have in most of our programs at School of Health too, that we really need you to communicate and get yourself out there. So great preparations. Jeremy has an excellent question. Since this program is online, does it mean the instruction is through pre-recorded video lessons, or are the lessons live?
Neither of the above. The courses have been developed using the Learning and Teaching Center here. So it's not, you're not going to be sitting there looking at PowerPoint or listening to an instructor. Those are ways that course material can be delivered. But with us, there is written material you read, and then there are learning activities that you do online to reinforce the learning you're doing from the reading. There are things like quizzes at the end of every module in the course. There's usually 12 modules in a 12-week course. So there are quizzes, and there are videos you can watch, and all kinds of different stuff. So we don't want you to sit there and read the whole course. So we try to make it as interactive as we can. And sometimes, as I said, there are discussions that you can chime into, talking about topics like at work, have you ever done this or seen this, or, you know, so we try to make it interesting and keep it going. And but it's not listening to someone like me talk for 2 hours, which would be deadly, unless you take the diploma program, and then I will stand up in the front of the class. But then there's a lot of back and forth. I'm not just lecturing, I'm asking questions as much as I'm getting asked. So in our part-time study certificate, there's a specific format, and we like to keep it as interactive as we can. So hopefully that answered the question.
Okay, I'm putting up our email address and a little thank you while we continue to answer a few more questions, because I have a feeling some of you are going to need this email address and might want to send us some questions later. But Dave, I do have somebody here saying they have 7 years of HSE, I'm not sure what that sounds for, so I hope you know, advisory experience in the oil and gas industry in his home country. He got his CSP certificate last year. Is this certificate useful for him?
We get this a lot. We get a lot of students coming over from other countries, and sometimes they have quite extensive, like really excellent safety experience. In Canada, there is no requirement for you to have any sort of certification to get hired as a safety practitioner or a safety professional. It's up to the employer. So technically, an employer could hire someone like that and give them a job and everything would be great. But that's theoretical. In the real world, often employers are looking for some sort of a local credential, something like the associate certificate, 7 courses, 20 credits would be something this person could look at doing. So that's probably what I would recommend for foreign trained professionals with experience is take a couple of the courses, put that on your resume, and when you talk to employers and apply for jobs, at least you can say, I've done a local legislation course, I've done some local courses, so I know how things work in Canada, and you can put your grades, your high grades on there, onto your resume or onto your cover letter, and hopefully get that first safety position, because that's what you need, is the first foot in the door to get your career going in Canada.
Great, good answer. Estee is asking, what is the project about, if I may ask? She's getting herself prepared and ready for potential interviewees. Now, I think, I'm not sure what you're asking, is I think there's a different project in each course, isn't there? Or is there a specific project she's asking about? Estee, are you online?
Every course has a couple of assignments. They're all different.
Yeah. So I think a lot of that will be as it comes to you, and as you can take those courses. If you have specific questions about the different courses and what they cover, you can read up on the courses on our webpage. And again, the webpage links were put in earlier, and you can definitely email.
I think she was asking about the assignment. The assignment in the first course you take, the OHS Fundamentals, is for you to talk to 2 safety professionals, so you can ask them some questions, and it's mainly so you make sure you're getting into the right profession. You can ask them what they do, what they like about their jobs, what they don't like, how they do things. It's fairly unlimited what sort of information you can ask for from a safety professional. So mainly it's to help the student learn about the safety professional role, because sometimes people take the courses and they're not quite sure what a safety person does or how they do it, or is it the career for them. So that first assignment, interviewing a couple of safety people, is a good, and it's a good way to start your networking, because quite often those safety people are very friendly and they would be able to help you later on with some other projects or assignments in other courses. So you got to start that networking somewhere.
So two people, Brian and Jeremy, are both asking, what's the major difference between the certificate program and the diploma program, Dave? And I know this is a question that Bobby probably got in his presentation earlier today too, when he presented about the diploma program.
Well, there's a lot of differences. I think that it really depends on the student or the potential student and where you are and where you're coming from, what your education, what your work history, what your interests are, and where you want to go. If someone can do the diploma program, spend 2 years full-time at BCIT, I would highly recommend that. I consider that like the gold standard. You're going to learn a lot in that program. Obviously, in a 7-course or a 15-course associate certificate or certificate, you're only going to learn so much. In the diploma program, 2 years full-time at BCIT, you take 2 years of communications courses, which are incredibly valuable. You take 2 years of chemistry, a year of math, a year of physics, business courses, computer courses, in addition to the safety courses. In the certificate part-time studies program, you're taking safety courses and a limited number of them. So you're going to learn a lot more in the diploma. You're going to be snapped up by employers more quickly if you're a diploma grad. Our diploma grads are all getting pretty good jobs, sometimes great jobs right out of the box. So that is definitely a gold standard, but not everybody can do it. Not everybody has the prerequisites. Not everybody can spend 2 years not working, studying at BCIT. So I would say there's a big difference. They both can get you into safety, and over a few years as you progress, you can end up more or less in the same spot. It's just a different, you're taking a different route. I would highly recommend, if you can do the diploma, to do it, because it is so interesting and valuable. You get to do a lot of presentations and you get to interact with 20 other students who have all kinds of different backgrounds and interests, and it's a great thing to do the diploma program, but it's just not possible for everybody. The diploma program is also competitive entry, so you can apply for that, but then you have to get accepted, and the requirements, the prerequisites are fairly low, but you're competing against a whole bunch of other people. So we do tend to look at a lot of work experience and things like that as far as who we're going to accept for the diploma program. Work experience, as I say, is very critical to make you a good safety person. You had to be out there and work in the real world. It's not a theoretical thing, safety, it's very practical. I don't know if that answered the question, but usually if someone is 25 or 30, I would usually really strongly suggest the diploma program. But we have, on the other hand, we've had people in their 50s do the diploma program and be successful and go on and do great things. So usually I would say the average age in the diploma is about 28 years old, and the average age in the certificate program is closer to 40. So we definitely get people with 10 or 20 years in the trades or other industries going into the diploma. And for various reasons, sometimes their body is just wearing out, because you can only hammer so much sheet metal for so many years before you're looking for another career. So we get a lot of people in trades and other industries that are thinking ahead to how can they use their knowledge and their experience, but do something less physical in the future. So that's a big thing for certificate students.
That was a very comprehensive answer. So I hope that, and Brian says that seems to think that helped him too. So that's good. Okay.
It's an individual decision, and there's a lot of factors that go into it. So I can't give like do this or do this. It's really, everybody has to consider a lot of things and then pick the pathway that works for them. So it's good that there is different pathways. So even if you're working and you have kids and responsibilities, you still have the option to work towards becoming a safety professional.
Yep. Okay, so if we are out of questions, which I think we might just about be, I just want to again say that you can please, so I'm trying to read the questions and talk to the slide at the same time. This is not working out for me. So just give me a second. So I just want to thank you guys for attending. I really appreciate everyone taking time out of their busy schedules to join us this evening. And I really appreciate you guys showing an interest in occupational health and safety by sitting with us and listening to all of us. If you do have any further questions, please email ohs@bcit.ca. And you'll be able to get a hold of Nikki or Dave or Bobby from the diploma program through that email address, and they'll be able to answer any additional questions you might have or point you in the right direction. Dave, did you have your hand to say something? Or
yeah, I just want to point out that what is on that last slide is very true. There are many, many opportunities in health and safety. There are lots of jobs, and there is a real need for motivated, trained safety professionals out there. We don't want half-assed trained people out there. We want well-trained people to look after the workers in the province. And looking after the workers, you're also looking after the employer. And as I said before, it's a job that is very seldom boring or dull. It's very challenging and very interesting. And because you're technically, in a lot of cases, you may be saving people's lives. I consider it a very, very noble way to spend your working life if you have an interest. I highly recommend it. I got into it for a reason, and I'm very happy with the profession. And like I say, we need more people. We need good people, and there are lots of opportunities. So good luck.
wonderful. I just also want to add that this session has been recorded. So you will have an opportunity to get a copy of this video afterwards. Later this week, we will send you an email with a copy of the video, a copy of this PowerPoint slide deck, and you can look for that email to get more information. We'll also post the video onto our program webpage, so please do read through all of our web pages and see if any of your questions can be answered there. But again, always available to answer an email. So thank you again for coming out, and we really appreciate it. We hope to hear from some of you soon. Okay, bye.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, bye.